Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun, episode 11, Let's Rice. The episode in a nutshell is a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So we start with Sakura commenting to Nozaki that despite having met him several times, she isn't really sure about Ken as a person. Nozaki then rambles off a few facts about Ken that he learned from Miyako, and before reminiscing about his first meeting with Ken, where he basically was traumatized from Meino, so he first kept his distance. So when Ken first arrives to the restaurant, Nozaki calls him on the phone and basically tells him, "You stay over there," and go from there. Then they go inside and they sit there, and Ken tries to make some small talk and be casual with him, but Nozaki, of course, has really strong reactions. Like Ken comments on like Suzuki as a character being liked by the audience as a classic hero, and Nozaki reacts like he's trying to use his characters to get close to him, and it's not going to work. Then he talks about how they might be able to continue with the story going forward, and Nozaki reacts kind of like, "How dare you try to butt in on my manga? These are my ideas, not yours." And then finally, Ken actually proves that he did read the manga, and this, of course, wins Nozaki over, though Ken ultimately feels like he's been hitting on a woman who's um, got a child the entire time and decides that they're not going to be able to get along with each other. Then we move on to Nozaki deciding that he wants to add a little bit more excitement into his story and tries to figure out a way to do that, but when his suggested scenarios kind of fall flat, he then engages Sakura in a day of surprises where throughout the next school day he's going to surprise her. So it starts with her coming into class and sitting down, and instead of sitting on her chair, she ends up sitting on Nozaki. Then he comes over to her and basically offers her flowers, which makes her really excited. But then when she goes to take the flowers, a fake hand pops off, and this, of course, makes her no longer excited. And then it has a few various scenarios before we get to lunchtime where he surprises her with a homemade lunch. She opens it up all excited, and then when she looks at it, it's just white rice, so she's a bit disappointed. But then when she digs into it, she finds out that there is curry underneath, and then beneath that, Nozaki says that there is an egg, and this makes her really excited. Then he pours her tea, which is amazing, and then he gives her dessert, which basically her most exciting, like the thing that excited her the most about the day was basically the food. Before then, we see like a snippet of her in the hallway and him, you know, letting off a party cracker with confetti at her, to the point where like one of the other guys in his class is like, you know, if you're trying to win over that girl in 1A, like you're not doing very well. You look like you're bullying her. And and Ozaki basically says like that it was pre-agreed upon that he was going to surprise her this day. Um, and then asks the other student for advice because he can't think of anything else to do or he's running out of ideas. Then at the end of the day, he asks Sakura to walk home together, and she walks home with him, but the entire time she's waiting for a surprise, basically traumatized by the day of being surprised by him, only to find out when they reach their destination that he had just wanted to walk home with her and wasn't planning to surprise her at all, which of course then means she spent the entire nice walk with Nozaki freaking out when she didn't need to. It then moves on to the next evening when Hori comes over to spend the night before Wakamatsu shows up because there's a sudden downpour and the trains have stopped running, followed by Mikoshiba doing the same. And Nozaki offers to make them all dinner. So the boys then go into the room, and they all help Nozaki with the manga, but not all of them know that the others help with the manga. For example, Mikoshiba doesn't know about Hori, and I think Wakamatsu and Hori don't know about Mikoshiba, but Wakamatsu and Hori know about each other. Anyways, when they go to sit down, take out their manga tools, but quickly hide them because, wow, force of habit. They then start to talk about kind of like how they all know Nozaki and what they do for fun before Nozaki then um, comes in and brings them the dinner. Then it's decided, because the rain is still so bad and the trains still aren't moving, that all of them will spend the night. After Wakamatsu gets out of the bath, Mikoshiba comments on his muscles. Then they go in and start talking about girls and relationships and whatnot. And Hori is the one who realizes that all of the conversations that they're having have been turned into girl talk by Nozaki, who's writing it all down in various scenarios. So when Um, Mikoshiba talks about Wakamatsu's muscles because he's in a sports club. That turns into the girls talking about their chest sizes, and Hori has his hair not spiked because he's also bathed. So then that turns into the girls commenting on how good how good a girl looks with their hair down. And then, of course, they talk about the relationships and they have dinner together. And then Nozaki stops them from going to sleep because he wants them to act out like a slumber party, finally confessing to what he's doing. But then he himself falls asleep, and only after he's fallen asleep do they then start arm wrestling and having fun and staying up late before they finally eventually go to sleep. Meaning, of course, that Nozaki missed it all by sleeping. Then in our post-credit scene, we basically have Sakura rolling around on her bed with the autograph that she had gotten in episode 1 before going to the fridge for a snack and finding some Valentine's Day chocolates that she never ended up giving to Nozaki in the back of her fridge. And with the episode summarized, it's now time to rank the episode. As always, we'll be ranking on our mostly objective ranking list first, which uses set values to determine the score, and then our personal list second, which just uses the entertainment value to determine the score. So once again, we find ourselves in this scenario of there's no negatives to the episode, but also not a lot of the positive options apply either, and therefore there was only one thing that applied on our mostly objective rank values, and that was our multi-episode main character development, and also our multi-episode supporting character development, which was the flashback to how Ken and Nozaki's first meeting went. We see it from Nozaki's point of view, but also from Ken's point of view, and we get an insight into what both of them are thinking at the time. So I think it applies to both of them. And that basically gives us a 6 out of 10 episode for this episode. That now brings our season 1 rankings so far in our mostly objective ranking to in first. This love ... is being turned into a shoujo manga. Say hello to the new heroine. The man who envisions love. I'll cast a spell on you. There are times when men must fight. The prince girl of the school's problems. Violence versus the prince. Let's rice. The manga artist's brain. Nozaki-kun. What strengthened is our bond and our reigns. And then, do you have enough excitement? So for my personal thoughts on the episode, I liked the flashback to how Nozaki met Ken, especially with his behavior because of his trauma due to Maino. And it was very amusing, but again, nothing really that made you do a full-bellied laugh. It was more like a chuckle, if anything, at the scenes. The Day of Surprises with Sakura and Nozaki, I feel like I smiled throughout most of it, but again, didn't really give me any like full-on laughter. Though I do like that the main thing that she was most delighted and surprised by was the food, as if you've read the manga, that kind of becomes a theme where Sakura is always seeming to be fed by Nozaki to the point where there's a chapter that she's kind of worried about her weight because she keeps eating. And then this episode shows that as well, with the lunch being the best part for her and the part that he ultimately decides to use in his manga, which then makes Ken comment on how it's turned into a gourmet manga. And then I think the best part of the episode really was the boys' night in, where Nozaki was turning all of the boys' interactions into girl talk, and the way that he was doing that, and how Hori Senpai is the one who realizes it and tries to make Nozaki stop, but obviously that doesn't really pan out. And then how Nozaki ends up missing the entire scenario he himself was crafting by being the one to fall asleep first while all the others have fun without him. Though to be fair, they do try to wake him up and he does not wake up. But overall, I felt like I enjoyed the episode. But again, there were the better ones were in the earlier part of the season, it would seem. And so because of that, I decided to rank it a 6 out of 10 because it's good, but there were so many better. And that brings us to, in first, There Are Times When Men Must Fight, Say Hello to the New Heroine, I'll Cast a Spell on You, The Prince Girl of the School's Problems, This Love is being turned into a shoujo manga, The Man Who Envisions Love, Do You Have Enough Entertainment, or Do You Have Enough Excitement? This episode 8 was Let's Rice, Violence versus the Prince, What Strengthened is Our Bond and Our Reigns, and then in 11th, The Manga Artist's Brain, Nozaki-Kun. Bringing us now to our final segment, which is the series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking, we so far have 74 out of a possible 120. And then on the personal ranking, we have 77 out of a possible 120. With that, we've now rewatched and ranked Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun, Episode 11, Let's Rice. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.